Title: The Unheard Tapes. Maya always found herself at the center of her friends' conspiratorial whispers and playful teasing. It was a Friday night, and the group had gathered for their monthly horror movie marathon at Jake's house, an old Victorian with an ambiance perfect for their ghost stories and urban legends. It was the kind of home that creaked under the weight of its own history, with walls that seemed to murmur secrets from the past. But tonight's challenge wasn't the usual ghost in the attic or the killer in the woods. It was rooted in something much more unsettling, an audio recording that had inexplicably emerged from the depths of the internet. "Do you guys remember those tapes we found online?" Maya said, wrinkling her nose imaginatively. "The ones that were rumored to be cursed? Yeah, the unheard tapes. So creepy. Do you actually think they're real?" Sarah asked, leaning in, her eyes wide with curiosity. "I don't know, but I heard they can drive you to madness if you listen to them," Jake quickly responded, and although his tone was playful, a nervous edge crept into his voice. "Let's listen to them," Jason, the bravest and most reckless of their group, suggested with a daring grin. "No way," Sarah protested, clutching her popcorn bowl as though it were a lifeline. "What if it's true? What if something really happens?" "Oh come on," Maya countered, filled with a mix of excitement and fear. "It's just audio. What's the worst that could happen?" Jake hesitated, glancing at the clock nervously. Okay, he relented. "But we do it in my room. We can at least try to keep the vibe contained." With the decision made, the thrill buzzed through them as they settled into Jake's dimly lit sanctuary. They arranged themselves in a half circle on his bed, a few candles flickering like tiny, uncertain ghosts against the shadows. Jake pulled up the audio from his laptop, fingers trembling slightly as he clicked play. The speakers crackled before settling into an eerie, unsettling soundscape, a cacophony of whispers barely discernible against an unsettling backdrop of ambient noise. Disturbed breaths and muffled cries haunted the background, threading together with intermittent snippets of what sounded like distorted voices conversing in frantic urgency. "I can't make sense of it," Maya murmured, feeling a cold shiver dance down her spine. The whispers began to rise, entwining themselves into a haunting symphony, chaotic yet hypnotic. After a couple of minutes, Jason suddenly turned pale. "Did you hear that?" he asked, gripping the edge of the bed tightly. "Hear what?" Maya responded, straining to pick out any specific sounds above the haze. "They're calling for help," Jason stammered, glancing around the room. The others dismissed him, laughing lightly, but that laughter quickly died when an echoing scream pierced through the playing audio, piercing through the dark atmosphere like a knife. Maya's blood ran cold. Stop it," she ordered abruptly, but Jake, now entranced, refused to take his finger away from the play button. The whispering crescendo rose, the volume flooding the room, the air thick with a sense of impending doom. Everyone froze when a low rumble shook the walls. Jake's laptop flickered and went dark. The sound cut off abruptly, leaving an eerie silence, punctuated only by the hushed breathing of the group. "What the hell was that?" Sarah whispered, her voice trembling as they all turned to each other, concern etched on their faces. Maya was the first to break the silence that hung heavily in the air. "Maybe it's just a glitch?" Her feigned bravado didn't have the strength to mask her growing fear. It was only moments later that the group realized something was off. They exchanged confused glances when Jason shifted uncomfortably, rubbing his neck anxiously. "Guys," he muttered, "I can hear them. They're still here." Jake scoffed, brushing it off, but the laughter didn't seem to carry the same lightness anymore. "That's just the effect of the tape," he said, though doubt crept into his voice. The faint knocking began first as soft taps, almost rhythmic, reverberating against the walls. The friends turned wide-eyed toward the source, breath hitching in their throats. Suddenly, a more forceful knock erupted, rattling the door as if someone was trying to get in. Panic surged through the group, but instead of fleeing, they stayed frozen like deer in headlights. They had stirred something. What lay beyond the door, in the fleeting shadows of their own imaginations, felt dangerously close to reality now. Jake finally gathered the courage to get up and open the door, convinced it was just the wind playing tricks. But what awaited him was silence, and nothing else. No one was on the other side, just the darkened hallway stretching endlessly. A collective sense of dread hung over them, the atmosphere growing increasingly stifling. Maybe it was just the wind, Jake whispered, uncertainty wrapping around each word. But outside, the howling of the wind shifted. It grew louder, morphing into agonized wails, echoing down the hallways, spiraling into their minds like a tangible force of panic. They rushed to the windows, peering out into the murky darkness beyond, but nothing awaited them but the oppressive night. "Get out," Maya finally said, voice cracking, the adrenaline kicking in. They scrambled out of the room and into the living area, instinctively banding together. As they reached the front door, Jason suddenly halted, eyes wide with an unfathomable fear. He was trembling, his gaze locked on something behind them. It's in the recordings," he stammered. "I can still hear them." Turning, they saw a dark shape, a shadow shifting under the dim lights. With a breathless scream, they tore open the door, bursting into the embrace of the night, leaving behind the horrors they had inadvertently awakened. Days passed, but the recordings played again and again in their minds. They could hear the whispers, the echoes of lost souls, and the spirits that begged for release. The unheard tapes weren't just recordings, they were conduits that connected them to something sinister lurking in the shadows, memories that would never fade. Maya would often catch Jason staring vacantly at the wall, as if listening to distant voices echo just beyond the veil of sanity. As for Jake and Sarah, they became shadows of their former selves, haunted by the knowledge of what they had unleashed. But the whispers never ceased, they lingered, a reminder that some things are better off unheard, and some tapes are never meant to be played.